Whoa, long time no see. Happy New Year. And before we get into the big reboot episode of TFZ, I just want to say thank you. It was always a dream of ours to come back and do this thing right, to do it bigger, but we never expected this kind of support so far. It has been incredible. This episode is going to get strange as we flip things upside down and deep dive into the final season of Stranger Things and the culture surrounding the show. Justin and I are also super excited to sit down and chat with SAG award-winning actor, performance artist, and contortionist Mark Steger, who plays the original Demogorgon on the show. All that and more right here on the Fragmented Zone. Don't go anywhere. If you are ready to expand your mind and you want to take this electric journey with us, make sure to check out our link tree, which is in the description of all of our YouTube videos and attached to all of our social medias. Linktree/the Fragmented Zone. There you will find out how to access all of our awesome content. There's some sponsored links and a way to donate and support the show directly. Obviously, the best way to get us going is just by watching and reacting, so here's your chance to do that. I'm gonna get out of the way. I do want to say the audio is a little troubling at certain parts throughout this episode. Look, it's been a while. It has been a while. We don't exactly know what we're doing. This is new technology for us. Just give us some time to work out the kinks. I hope you still enjoy, though. And if you think you're getting yourself into a podcast, that's not what this is. This is a show like no other. We're ready to unleash the madness that's in here. Our creative juices have been flowing, and this is the chaos that it's come up with. So immerse yourself. It's going to be a good time. Thank you so much, people. And I must say one last time, lock in. There is an exclusive collection of duos that make the internet a better place. I mean, Key and Peele, Rhett and Link, New York financiers with private islands and U.S. presidents, but most importantly, Jeremy Garrett and Justin Donaldson. And we're back, baby. We're back.
We are back.
Like we never left. Except
Yeah.
we did. There's some big differences. What's up, Justin? How's it going?
Nothing much. I don't know how it's gonna feel to roll back into this. Obviously we've been talking about this return for like a couple of months, and getting back into this. Like you're definitely gonna get us clowned more on like the Instagram side of things, but that's what I was mainly talking about. Like, everyone's gonna come at us,
We're
podcast
still ready for the
equipment.
comments. I wish podcast equipment was more expensive.
No,
Let's start a
right,
podcast, bro.
right.
I'm ready for those comments.
But now we're doing what you know we want to do. So
Yeah, we're actually doing something with our creative energy, and we're trying to be original here, people. What are you doing with your life? Before you comment, what are you doing with your life? That's the question. Nothing. That's the answer.
I'm trying to think, like, even though we've been gone for so long, I don't think anything crazy has happened in between that like this time of
No.
us being
No.
absent.
I'm surprised we even made it here to this point.
No,
Honestly, for a while there, it was starting to feel like the season finale a little bit, the end of the world. I still think it might be. We're going to try to chuck out as much content as we can before everything comes crashing down.
yeah.
The current state of the world, AI, Diddy, everything that's going on.
Why is like Diddy on the same pedestal as AI? Like, why is that like Diddy
I
should
don't
not be
know.
that much of a monumental character?
I've seen a lot of AI videos that feature Diddy. That's all I'm saying. It's not a coincidence. I don't know. We are still the same people. We're still pursuing our love for entertainment, but
Mhm.
honestly, in completely different ways. I have found stand up comedy to be my platform. I've been doing local comedy for a couple months now. I am really trying to branch out. 2026 is going to be the year of Jeremy. I'm calling it the year of Jeremy tour. Mark my words, people. I'm going to get out there and bring you guys laughs. Tell me right now where you live, and I'll show up and I'll perform for you. Not at your house. Not personally. I'm not going to come and give you a. Well, depends on how much you donate to our Cash App. That's, you might get that experience. Should we start an OnlyFans?
No, no.
People are going to think it. We do have to clarify, right? Like there's no romance going on here. It's purely platonic.
I don't think we have to clarify that. I don't
I
think we
feel like
do.
we do. We have to take note.
Either way, you know why I don't think we have to clarify that? Okay, so originally, right, we came to this podcast, and there was, we were doing it in person instead of Jeremy's moldy basement. Um, and then I had kind of got into a car crash, and it was a car
Yeah.
crash. Then we started doing it on, Riverside and this whole kind of thing. And now, uh, I live in Cleveland, and Jeremy is in Toledo, Ohio still. So that's kind of why we're on separate sides of this. We're still doing our little separate things. We have our setups and whatnot. So
Yeah. Justin is one of the lucky ones that got out. Most of us here in Toledo are trapped here forever. There's nothing we could do about it.
Jeremy knows. Jeremy says that I'm a changed man, but like the state of Marvel and how everything has been going with that whole ordeal, I'm not a fan. I haven't I am a fan. There are a lot of movies that I genuinely don't understand, like get the hate. But within this span that we've been gone, what has come out? We've gotten the
Nothing that I
Marvel.
watched.
Should have made a list of like what all has like come
I,
out.
I don't think it matters. There's been so much stuff that has kind of gone in one ear and out the other.
Right.
I
Regardless.
don't even
Oh,
think
and
it's.
Deadpool and Wolverine too. We Deadpool and
Oh,
Wolverine.
we haven't done this podcast since probably phase
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
So what is it now? Phase 6,
Or something like that.
phase 6, phase 7.
Yeah, all I know is that we're in a multiverse saga, and I'm kind of sick of it. Right? I feel like every time I go into like a Marvel movie, I forget that we're in the multiverse saga, and I think Marvel does as well. And then like kind of gets towards the end of the movie, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, we need to like tie this back into the multiverse," and then the end credit scene is just something completely utter nonsense. Captain America came out. That's what kind of
Yeah.
brought my mind back to that because at the end of Captain America, we get this nonsense where they tell us that the world is much bigger than we know. Or like we
Yeah.
have been with Marvel for almost 2 decades now. I think we are very aware that the world is much bigger than we think.
Yeah.
So
It's gotten exhausting because every story is part of this bigger connected idea, and you can't just enjoy anything independently. Marvel has been way too ambitious, building up just to something they can't live up to.
right,
And it's gotten exhausting being a nerd. We obviously, when we first started the podcast, that's what we did. We talked about these superhero projects and comic book movies and things we were passionate about. And that passion hasn't really been there. That nerdy spark hasn't really been there. But I think right now is a great time to get back into it because I've had the urge, man. There's 2026 is such a big year. I got so much to catch up on, so
yeah,
much quality content to take in going into the new year. So there's just so much more to talk about. I don't know what's happened. It's been a dry couple of years. We've been going through our own things, and that passion, like I said, just hasn't been there. But it's back. I feel it. I feel it in the air, and I'm excited to actually be a nerd again and let that
yeah.
inner child out. It's time.
Sadly, we are starting this podcast on week 17 of the NFL. We
I
still have the
know.
playoffs. We still have the playoffs that we can talk about.
Yeah.
But
I'm happy we got back. That's why I kind of rushed this to get back, though, so we could be here for the playoffs. I mean, I know your team's not going to be in there, but bang, bang, Niner gang. You see it right there on my shirt, faithful. I had to be here for this historic playoff run. We had to be able to talk about that. Like you said, it's every lane. That's what the fragmented zone is all about. That's how we came up with that name. It's a fragment of. Why are you looking at me like that?
because I just got a notification that said flights are down. I thought they said they're down to $38, but it just said flights are down too.
Oh, we have to talk about that. Hold on, we'll get into
Yeah,
the cruise. But the fragmented zone is fragments of every area of pop culture and sports and the things that we enjoy. It is a culmination of all of our interest in one massive show. That's what it's all about. So James Gunn is reviving the DCU. We're going to talk about that. Football is crazy. We're going to talk about that. Hey, Sabrina Carpenter, when she drops new music, we might just talk about that. I don't know. I know Justin is a big. What do they call him? You're a big
carpentry.
carpenter, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's that me espresso. All right, it's that me espresso. That was stupid. That was I
Yeah,
don't
very
even
funny.
know, man. When I press record, I get 100 times cringier. It's bad.
When we were 16, we found the Cartoon Network Hotel, which is getting shut down, by the way, guys. That Cartoon Network Hotel will eventually be shut down, but it was open for a long time, and we wanted to go to it so bad. And obviously, at 16 years old, we didn't really have ideas on how we were going to get down there. Uh,
And we
but
never did.
no,
And
we
we
never
never
did.
did.
We never did to this day. Um, and a friend of ours, Russ, who we must thank for these cool signs that you guys see in the background here.
Yeah, he had these 3D printed. Shout
Yeah,
out Russ.
these are really dope. Shout out Russ. Um, but Russ sent us a reel. Russ doesn't have any correlation with the reels that he sends. He means nothing by them. He just sends anything that shows up on his For You page. So
Yeah, absolutely.
he meant nothing by this, but he sent a reel that said, when the friend group vacation finally gets out the group chat, and that's when me and Jeremy were like, speaking of that, like we're 21 years old, like we can probably go to this Cartoon
Yeah,
Network hotel,
it's
right? We
time to
start
live out
looking
those
into the
dreams.
yeah, we start looking into the hotel. And we're like, this thing is kind of dingy. Like it's just like the hotel
Yeah,
itself is nice, but the food is expensive.
there's a
The doc
reason. There's a reason it's shutting down. It was not as cool as we thought it was
No,
when we were
literally.
kids.
And I genuinely don't even remember how we landed on the topic of a cruise, right? But somehow we started looking up prices, on these cruises, and we were like, this seems very doable. And now we are going on a cruise in March, um,
First
and
time
we've
ever.
been, yeah, no, we've like planned this like very well. This would definitely be my first, not my first trip because I went on a trip, I think last year in Tennessee with a couple of friends. But this would be my first time kind of like planning a trip for myself and then somebody else, and really like using all my money and stuff to kind of get there. We're going to Miami, and then we'll be sailing to the Bahamas.
Yeah,
So
and the crazy thing is, there's four of us, but the other two did not really have an option. We
no,
we said, guys, we're booking a cruise, and you're coming with us. We just
yeah,
sucked them into
one of them
this.
is my girlfriend, and then the other one is Russ, who doesn't really have opinions about much. He just and everyone needs a friend like that. Everyone needs a friend who's just down for anything uh, that's going on. So
We're gonna live the Bahama Mama life, baby. Jim's
maybe,
gonna be a beach boy. I am terrified to share a room with Russ, and I will put that out there. Listen, Russ, if you're watching, please, please don't get freaky with me, bro. Don't get freaky. Don't get freaky with anybody else either. I don't
hey,
want
no, it might happen. It might happen. We have
it.
surprises for Russ on the cruise since he lost our fantasy league.
Oh yeah, we're gonna punish him good. He lost the entire league, and we're gonna get a custom shirt made for him, and we're not gonna reveal anything, but it's bad.
First year I've ever done fantasy. Jeremy tried to get me to do fantasy last year. It didn't work out. But I finally did fantasy this year, and I made it all the way to the championship, guys, and I lost terribly uh, in the final round, which there's nothing I could do. First week, I did forget to switch out um, Woody Marks on the Texans because I didn't see that he was on injury reserve because I was at work. Uh,
Justin's team got violated by
It
Derrick
did.
Henry.
There was nothing I could do. Like originally, Jeremy was in the thing calling me a dumbass because I didn't switch out my running backs, but I ended up getting beaten by like 140 points, so it didn't even matter in the end.
It was a massacre. It was a massacre. And the crazy thing is, Brandon, who is one of my longtime best friends, is the one that won the whole league. This dude knows not a single ounce of ball. There's not a single amount of ball knowledge in that man's head. He's never watched a game in his life. All right, we had him hop into this with us. All right, we brought his wife in as well. They dominated the league. They just drafted random players and dominated the league.
Yeah.
I set this whole thing up because I wanted to finally be better than these guys at something. Football is more my lane, right? It is all, fantasy football, especially, is my lane, and I was fighting to even get into the playoffs, and I didn't make the playoffs, and it's a tragedy. It's truly a tragedy. I don't know how I let this happen, but it happened, guys. Fantasy football this year, the injuries, man, the
Yeah.
injuries. Oh, that's what got me.
Every year, there's always speculation. people don't play their best. Joe Burrow's not, Joe Burrow's playing fine. It's just, his team is letting him down. But there's always talks about trades with him. There's talks about trades with Lamar Jackson going to Miami. I choose not to listen to that. There are always actual like crazy reviews as to who's getting traded. You never thought the Lions would trade Matthew Stafford, but they did, and that was kind of just to build our roster up.
Could you
And
imagine this team with Stafford though?
yeah, no, it'd be
Unstoppable.
crazy. But people always like, people always say, oh, you know, the Rams won the trade, but obviously it wasn't an equal trade, right? We got Golf and we gave him Stafford. It's not like we just got Golf because we thought Golf was a better quarterback. No, we got Golf, and then we also got
The draft
multiple
picks.
first round picks. Yeah, like we oh my god, multiple draft picks. So
That was
that's exactly how we are where we are now. Like that's
that was
that.
one of the best trades I think ever in the NFL.
Yeah,
I think Jared Goff has become a hero to the people of the D for sure. He's living long enough to see himself become a villain, slowly but surely. I don't think it's all his fault, though. I think they'll get it together once Dan Campbell gets an offensive play caller. Um,
yeah.
Lessons learned. Lessons learned. I will say I didn't even hear half of what you were saying because I was distracted by Zoni over here. This is the official mascot of the Fragmented Zone, people. He's been through a lot. You can actually he's got a black eye. He's bruised up.
I actually
Uh,
won zoning on a cruise ship. I
yeah.
got him out of a claw machine.
I also I did some damage to him filming some promo content for
I
the
know I
show.
saw that.
So he got beat up a little bit.
I'm not at all endorsing like gambling, but me and Jeremy have done a little bit of gambling. I have yet to win anything. Jeremy's won like $500 one time and just can't do anything since.
I'm
Um,
chasing that high.
yeah,
I'm
he's
chasing
chasing
that
that
high.
high.
I've been chasing it all season long. That happened in like week 3.
And yeah, dude, it is like literally obviously at the end of the day, right? Some people probably don't get this, but at the end of the day, like you are just rooting for your team to win because that's like your heart and soul since you were a child. But when it comes to being older, you got gambling going on, then you got a fantasy league, then you have your own team. So you're kind of sitting here like in this like weird little three-way segment thing. You're like, man,
It
I
gets
need,
serious.
yeah, it
It
does.
gets no one can say it's just a game anymore because it's not. All
Mm-hmm.
right. There's a lot on the line here, okay?
It was the other week I had, not the other week, but it was some week. Obviously, I had Stafford on my starting roster, and he was playing the Lions. And then I also had like a parlay down on that game. It's like obviously I don't want to bet against my own team, but it's like I know what type of team I'm dealing with, and then you also don't want your team to do bad, but then I need Stafford to actually like put up a lot of points. So it's rough out here.
My butt hurts, dude. My butt hurts. I'm not even gonna lie. This chair is trash. I am sitting in you can't even really see it, but it is an old folding chair. Justin's got the legit gaming chair
Dude, this
that
thing is
he
comfortable.
stole from my basement.
I did not steal anything. This is my chair that I brought to your basement.
Now it's time to chat with our first official guest back here on the Fragmented Zone. If you don't know his face, trust me when I say you know his work. In terrifying roles in indie horror like Mr. Jones and the Pact, to scary stories to tell in the dark, and Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. He is a filmmaker, actor, performance artist, and contortionist that has served as choreography director on some of your faves like American Horror Story and World War Z. But most importantly today, he was part of the SAG award-winning Stranger Things Season 1 ensemble as the original Demogorgon. Get ready to expand your mind with Mark Steger. So I want to start. Let's clarify. There's definitely going to be some casual audiences out there that don't know what the heck I'm talking about when I say you were the Demogorgon in Stranger Things because they're thinking that's CGI. What are you talking about? Well, they don't know it wasn't always that way. You were actually on set in a big old Demogorgon suit. You were the practical Demogorgon. Obviously, it was hybrid with special effects. Before in the other seasons, they went full on CGI.
That's
But
true.
you were on set doing your thing. Tell us a little bit more about that experience.
Yeah, I met the Duffer Brothers. They were looking for somebody to perform this character, and I went to meet them, and we had a really good meeting. and they showed me designs, which were by Aaron Sims, a buddy of mine, he's designed a lot of creatures, a lot of movies. You've seen his stuff. And then I got a call. They wanted me to work on it, and it was always a combination of practical and visual effects. The the experience was great, like working with everybody, working with all the kids when they were just kids. It I had a blast, and a lot of the eventually the Demogorgon, they wanted to move. He's jumping around like Spider-Man and stuff, and that's stuff I couldn't do in the suit. So that's a lot of CGI. Vecna, which is mostly that's mostly practical, because it's biometrics on that one are pretty much human.
Yeah.
Human length arms and legs and stuff. With the Demogorgon suit, I was on stilts that maybe about 10 inches taller, and the arms were like these puppet arms, because they were probably a good 2.5 feet longer than my real arms. My actual arms were on the outside of the arms. I was just puppeting them. The hands were animatronic. The head was fully animatronic, which is an amazing thing. I wish we could bring it to conventions, because it was the company called Spectral Motion here in LA designed and built the suit, and did all the animatronics. Mark Zatrakian is the guy who designed all the animatronics. It's Mike Elizalde's and Mary Elizalde's company, Spectral Motion, and it was just I worked with them on. They also did the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and they worked with Guillermo del Toro on the first 2 Hellboy movies. I've done something else with them. Velvet Buzzsaw. They designed the suit I was in, the Hobo Man suit, the mechanical art sculpture. I've done something else with them. I've done a few other things with them. I'm blanking on it right now, though. But as far as Scary Stories, yeah, it was there's a lot of practical stuff in that. I can look at it and see, oh, that's me, it's me. And then, of course, there's parts where they sort of enhance the suit with CGI. So yeah, it's it's a combination of those two, which I think is what really pays off. A smart use of both of those together.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Does that answer you? Any more you want? Anything else you want about that? Let me know.
I imagine it was a very physically demanding job, right? How do you become that guy that directors trust to carry the weight of these suits? Like, that's such a niche thing. You have this strong physical capability to get inside of a suit and bring this character to life. That's very niche. How do you become that guy?
Well, how I became that guy is I've always been doing a physical performance. Before, I used to make. This is something that came up with my discussions with Duffers. I used to make Super 8 movies when I was a kid, and I made animated. I did 3D stop motion animation. I made little figures, and I animated them one frame at a time. And they were telling me that they used to do that on video, because they're younger than me. And that continued on through my adult life. I worked doing animation at a studio in San Francisco called Colossal Pictures in the early 90s. We did a lot of early MTV stuff, a lot of station IDs. And then there was an animated anthology series called Liquid Television that I worked on, that had the original Eon Flux cartoon was on that. We did a show called Winter Steel that my friend Cintra Wilson wrote about a biker chick, a puppet show about a biker chick. A few other. It was a really, really interesting show. You can still find some of it online. I'm pretty sure you can find it on YouTube. But I worked on that. Did a lot of music videos and commercials. We did some titles for films, and at the same time I was doing experimental theater in San Francisco, and then I started my own group with the collaborator Hana Sim, and that was all physical, just strange physical movement that we did in unusual environments like treetops and castle ruins, and ships, 18 ships from the 1800s. in the hulls of ships. And I did that for almost 20 years, touring around the world, doing this, bizarre physical movement. We did these, crazy animalistic transformations with our bodies. We were completely naked and shaved all the hair off our bodies. And so we looked like these human lava lights. And we eventually moved to Los Angeles because we were both interested in working in film. And, people would see us. It wasn't until people saw us performing that, we really started taking off, and people would want us to do, music videos and films and things.
Right.
And that leads to working with, some of these amazing, there's all these amazing makeup effects artists here. And one of the ones that we ended up working with was a gentleman named Adam Jones from the band Tool, which is I don't know if you're familiar with the band, but they're like it's like psychedelic metal. They're pretty well known.
We are the most uncultured people you will probably ever meet.
You guys are so not cool.
When it comes to metal and stuff like that, yeah, that's kind of a little bit out of our expertise.
Yeah. Well, they're more than metal. They're beyond that. They're really their music's really interesting. But
yeah, Justin, why didn't you do your research, man? Before
no, I did. Listen,
come on.
Listen,
but check out their music videos, because I think you'd really appreciate them. If you're into horror and science fiction and stuff, because they use a lot of Adam's the guitarist and pretty much the mastermind of the band.
Right.
But he used to. When he started the band, he was working at Stan Winston Studios, which I don't know if you're familiar with them. Stan Winston was one of the great makeup effects artists, but his studio did like the original Terminator films, Predator,
absolutely,
Jurassic Park, and Adam worked on all those films doing makeup effects. So he uses those skills and that artistry, and some of his friends in makeup effects community work with him on his films. And it is really elaborate. There's a film, the one that I did with my partner and I did with them is called Schism. So if you check that out, you'll see our work in that, and you'll see what Adam does. But anyway, we did this music video with them, and then we went on tour. We did like a 50 city arena tour of the North America, and then we toured Australia, New Zealand with them. But through Adam, because he knows all these people in the makeup effects community, people would call him and ask him, "Hey, who are those weirdos in your music video? We could use them in our film." And then from, that just that led to more, meeting more makeup effects artists and, directors and, people, because the makeup effects artists, they want people who can make their stuff look good,
right.
Who can put on the suit, put on the prosthetics, and inhabit the character. So that was kind of the journey to getting to that. And, a lot of, people often ask me, what kind of skills do you need to do this kind of work? And, first of all, you need some kind of command, physical command of your body, and some kind of, you have to have ideas about, what can be done. But also one of the main things you need is endurance, because a lot of times you'll be in a suit. There was this one that I did where the character didn't have eyes or ears or nose, so I I was breathing out my mouth. I couldn't see, I couldn't hear really. I had these giant, rubber talons for fingers, which were useless. I couldn't do anything with them, and I couldn't go to the bathroom, and then you're completely sealed into this thing. And you couldn't get out of it by yourself if you wanted to, because you can't use your hands. And it's this tough, latex rubber, and you're just in there, and you have a really good crew around you, your team of makeup effects artists who take good care of you. But you really have to find, when you're in this kind of situation, this environment, you really have to kind of find your happy place, and because you're just there with your thoughts, and one of the first ones is, "I'm going to die in here."
Wait, so they give you some kind of bag or something inside the suit if you have to use the bathroom, or you're on your own?
Nope. They do not. Um, I will not get in a suit like that anymore. I mean, that was early on. I was like, I guess this is how it is. I just can't go to the bathroom for 10 hours, you know, which is not healthy. Let me just say that it's not good. It's not good for you. It's bad for your bladder and other things. But there were two times I was in suits like that. One time wasn't bad because I wasn't in it that long, but one time I think it was 8 hours, and then at lunch they let me out of it enough that I could go to the bathroom, and then it was another 10 hours shooting. You know, so
Right.
that's one of the challenges. But like I said, I wouldn't get in a suit that I couldn't do that in. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing for me, it's like so cool that Jeremy was like able to like, come and get you on the show here because me and Jeremy are both in this kind of like we really like stretched to be in this entertainment kind of industry. I
Uh-huh.
know I'm right now going to school for like directing and filmmaking. That's kind of what I'm about. So I really love every
Cool.
aspect of like, the behind the scenes. And one thing that I kind of learned when I was going through schooling and what they were kind of teaching me was like, always say yes to every opportunity and like listening to you, it sounds like you had like a lot of opportunities that approached you where you were kind of like, yeah, why not? Like let's do it. And so like, I know a lot of people our age, it's very easy to kind of like get discouraged, especially with the internet and things like that, because everybody's life seems so fast. Everybody's life seems like it's moving, so fast, and it seems like there's not enough time. But
Mm.
I think the thing that I constantly try to stress that is like we're so young and that there is so much like still for us to do. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
what do you say to like people who kind of want to like be in this but they try to rush it so fast, they want to move to LA and they want to immediately just like get into everything, but still keeping the like say yes attitude along with it.
Well, I mean, when I meet younger filmmakers, I I generally I mean, I know I understand being impatient because I was impatient when I was younger, but I also just never let anybody tell me I couldn't do something because especially now, there's no reason to not, if you want to be a filmmaker, or whatever, video games or whatever like some kind of like work in media like that. This thing in your pocket, if I had one of these when I was your age, I'd be making films all day, every day because you can make a film that can be projected on in a theater on this thing now, right? So you know you, and the tools are so available and so powerful now, as far as editing and what you can do with effects and stuff. And I mean, I'm old school. I still like to do animate, I do animation by hand sometimes. I still, I'm a filmmaker as well. I just made a film where I made my own, creature suit and made a giant 8 foot diameter spider's web and stuff. And, you know, I didn't shoot it on this, shot it on but even the camera, the nice camera that I have wasn't that expensive. You know what I mean? And you should just, if you have a passion for this, if this is really what you want to do, you should just be doing it. Get together with your friends who are other artists, or meet people, and just really, just make film, just make, and then you have, then if then you can look at it as a calling card, if you want, but you need to be honing your skills. You need to be just learning the ropes, and I always say the best thing to do is learn everything about making films. Try doing as much of it as you can, so you understand, especially if you want to be a director, so you understand all the departments. You understand sound, you understand camera, you understand lighting and sets and props and makeup and all that. Try and learn as much as you can about all of it, because then it's easier for you to talk to the people you're working with, to talk to the crew. And it's just, to me, it's like I love all of it. So like, my favorite, my greatest joys, one of my greatest joys in life is being on set. And I love watching people work on set. To me, it's really exciting. So, yeah, I mean, being impatient, depends on why you're being impatient. Like if you just want to, it's just about like, you know, getting a bag of money so you can make a big feature or whatever. Like, that's not how you should be thinking. You should have a passion for it. It should be something you want to do with your life. You have to really enjoy the process too, which I do. It's a really exciting thing. It's this huge, grand collaboration. There's nothing better, really, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Justin brought up this say yes attitude, and I think you embodied that really well because now you have to walk me through when Guillermo del Toro calls you and says, "I need you to come in for a Netflix movie and just be bent over a table." Uh, what goes through your head there?
Um, well, that was actually my buddy Mike Hill brought me in to do that particular part. But of course, Guillermo was, he knew me and he said, "Yeah, let's work with Mark." Um, but Mike Hill, who did all the, he did the, he did the. I met him on Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. He did the Pale Lady. He sculpted the
Yeah,
Pale Lady and then did the application, the makeup through Spectral Motion, and and then he was doing, he was doing this. I didn't even know when he asked me to come in because he makes his own films too. He was working on his own little Frankenstein short when he started working on Guillermo's, and he called me in, telling me he needed to get a life cast of my body. And I thought it was for his project, but he was like, "Oh no, this is for Frankenstein, for Guillermo's Frankenstein." Um, so that was, it's always Guillermo's one of the best. I don't know, maybe as far as Hollywood directors, I think probably the most enjoyable experiences I've had working with him because he loves what he does. He's passionate about what he does. He's good at what he does, and he has the right attitude. He's not like, he doesn't yell at people. He doesn't, it doesn't have any bad habits that way, like some
yeah,
directors do. Um, and I actually got a call. I can't talk too much about it, but it was for a commercial, but it was working with Guillermo on this thing in Mexico, and I got a call, to do that, and I was like, oh sure, absolutely, and it was one of the funnest, you know, productions I've worked on. It was only for a few days, but I had a blast. It's because of him. It's like his his way of being, his presence, it filters down to the rest of the crew, like, I mean, it radiates to the rest of the crew, and everybody's having a good time. Everybody's enjoying themselves,
yeah,
uh, and there's, in my opinion, there's no reason, yeah, it's work and it's challenging. It can be very challenging sometimes and very, working very harsh conditions sometimes, whether that means you're you're freezing your ass off or you can't piss for 10 hours, there's something, but it should be fun. You should be enjoying it. It should be, for me, it's like I'm a kid with a Super 8 camera again. I'm 13 years old with a Super 8 camera when I'm on set. That's how I feel about it. Um, so yeah, Guillermo hasn't lost that youthful, enthusiasm for what he does, which is great.
yeah. Absolutely. And Justin, I can only hope that one day someone calls us in to pay us money to bend over and make a life cast of our
Oh
body.
yeah,
That sounds like a
yeah,
good
yeah.
time.
We'll be down for anything. I guess seriously. No, speaking. I know Jeremy wanted to really touch on this, but I kind of wanted to continue on like what you're talking about. You've been such a key part of like these large things that maybe people really don't know about. They don't think about it because they just think everything is like CGI nowadays, and they think that like there's no practical things involved. And you talked about how like useful it is to kind of blend those two together. Do you think in this day and age where a lot of people are making what they like to call like AI slop and what they like to just like there's no like real person involved unless they're typing in a prompt. Do you think that there's any part of this physicalness that's like added to these characters that is like dying, or do you think you and the people that you work with are keeping it alive and you don't see it dying off anytime soon, and you have like
That's
a
a
lot of
good
hope for the
question.
future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great question. Yeah, I don't think it's going to die out because I think people, enough directors like Guillermo said, he's come out and said it. He said fuck AI. And I just saw something Vince Gilligan um, said about it recently too. How it's just like this giant ripoff. You know, there's enough people that are interested in and appreciate and love the just the physicality of making films that it'll continue, and it's like, and there's something that you can't get from just typing in prompts and kind of scouring for images that other people made,
Yeah.
videos that other people made and putting it in something. All that said, it's AI is a tool, and if it's used right, which it can be. I mean, there's a lot of other applications besides generative, like generating video. Like there's medical applications, all kinds of scientific applications that it's great for. The thing is, as an art, AI is not an art form. It's not an art form. It could be considered a genre, I guess. But what it essentially is a tool, and I don't know what's going to happen with it. I mean, obviously there's a lot of junk out there now, and it's really bad as far as like politics and things like that go, because people are putting out you know all these deep fakes of people saying things they're not actually saying, and artists saying things they're not actually saying. But I don't, it would surprise me if at some point a really, really, brilliant artist, creative person uses it. And what has to be done with it is you have to break it. Technologies like that, you have to break it. You have to figure out what it does and how it does it, and make it do something it's not really supposed to, using it in some way it's not really supposed to be used.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could be something interesting can come out of that, but it's still just a tool. It's not, you're using, it's like using whatever visual effects program you use, and you make a mistake. It's like, oh, but that's interesting. Look what it did. It's not supposed to do that, but it did that thing. That to me is interesting. I know a lot of artists who try to take technology and redirect it, like whatever kind of technology, some kind of military technology. I had my friend Jeff King who did this thing where he went out to Palmdale, which is just north of LA here, where there's a lot of aerospace technology companies, and he decided he wanted to call a Reaper drone, because they test fly drones out there all the time. They have like radars that pick up signals of things coming in, and so he made this. He got this giant inflatable balloon, and he sent it up in the air. And pretty soon, he has this video. All these Reapers showed up, to track the thing. It's a really amazing video.
That's really cool.
Yeah, but that's there might be some somebody who's gonna look at AI and work with it for a little bit and realize, because a lot of artists are working with it. I haven't really seen anything that interesting yet, but it doesn't mean it is. It's a tool, if you look at it that way, it can be. It could have some interesting applications artistically. I haven't seen that yet, and a lot of what people do is it's just a ripoff of other people's work, which that's the thing I don't like. I really don't like, because saying like, oh, I made this cool video. It's like, no, you actually didn't. You assembled, you had this program, assemble some things from, you put in a few words and it assembles things. Obviously part of art is conceptual, right? Just coming up with the ideas. So you can say, well, that was artistic, yeah, but you didn't really do anything interesting. A lot of the art, a lot of the AI stuff you see, it just all kind of looks the same. It has this gloss to it, and it's just like, oh, that's wild. But I'm bored already. It has to have something behind it too.
Yeah.
There has to be some interesting intent. There has to be. It can't be just like cool images. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
I really appreciate that perspective, but I do have to ask, why throughout the time you've been talking to us, are you okay? There's been a lot of sirens. Are you in danger? There's
Oh no, I live downtown, so there's always
I'm
yeah,
pretty
no,
sure I
I'm
heard
fine.
somebody
No, I'm fine.
scream at one
That's
point.
I get comments like that all the time. Like people, I'm talking to people. It's like, oh, you must be downtown. I hear sirens. No,
Yeah.
it's just
What?
like there's lots of traffic. I mean, I'm on the 8th floor. I'm over Broadway, which is a really busy street, so there's lots of traffic, and
Man.
sirens are always going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I
fine. I'm fine.
I do want to.
I'm warm and cozy here.
I want to pick your head about Stranger Things a little bit more too,
Sure,
because
sure.
obviously it is one of the biggest shows of the streaming era. It became a
Oh yeah,
flagship show for Netflix. The
yeah,
culture around this show
yeah.
is crazy, and it's the talk of the town right now. Did you know when you agreed to do that, when they brought you in? Did they like? Was there an idea of how big this was going to be?
No, absolutely. Nobody thought that, or nobody knew. I mean, of
Yeah.
course, there's always like, maybe the producers, oh, this could be a hit or whatever, but nobody thought it would become the kind of cultural touchstone that it became. We were all pretty surprised, just how the fans caught on and just went nuts for it, and how
There
yeah,
it is. They're
yeah.
coming.
Oh yeah, coming for me this time.
You said
I
too
gotta.
much. They don't.
Sorry,
They
guys.
don't.
I gotta go down the fire escape here. Go back the back way. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of phenomenal and fun. Especially those early days. It was just like whoa. Just because of. And then I go to conventions a lot of times and just meet the fans and just the kind of the outpouring of love from people is just really, really wonderful. It's really that's been a really great part of the experience is just connecting with people on that level. Yeah, it's really, it's really been a special show. Yeah, and I feel really lucky to be have been a part of it. And
Well,
all the people I've met on it. I've made friends on it, and just being able to work with those terrific performers and artisans. It's
yeah,
been great.
absolutely, and it's crazy to see. Obviously all the kids are grown up now, but also
Yeah.
just the scale of the show is so much bigger. It is so massive now, and it makes me wonder. Hearing you talk about your experiences on the first season, did the Duffer Brothers go over any of the lore of the Demogorgon with you? There these seeds planted of what the Upside Down was, or you really had no idea?
They kept most of that pretty close to their vest. I mean, I knew they had some kind of a Bible, and I don't know if everything was fully formed, in
Yeah.
their minds. That's a question for them. I'm sure it's developed over time, and they have a whole writer's room working on ideas too. But, obviously they're the captains of the ship. And they're terrific, by the way. They're really very very talented, gifted fellows. Um, as far as the first day I was on set, um, we were shooting the scene where Will Byers disappears, and I'm sorry, I get the names of the actual actors and the characters confused sometimes. Is that the right character?
Will
Yeah,
Byers.
yeah, yeah. Where he disappears, he goes in the shed and disappears, and
Yeah.
I kind of, rear. I'm out of focus, sort of shadowy, just kind of rear up behind him. That was the first shot that I worked on.
Okay.
That was the first shot where you actually see the Demogorgon. Um, and I hadn't really. I mean, I had that first meeting with them, but I didn't really get any direction from them about. And I said to the second assistant. I'm sorry, the assistant director. Like, can I talk to, because we're about to shoot. Can I talk to the Duffers for a minute here? and I asked them, so say, hey guys, who am I?
Yeah.
What am I doing? What do I want? And they gave me one really simple direction. And well, they I mean they talked a bit about they talked about other things too, but the main direction they gave me was like, they were like, you're like the shark from Jaws. And I was like, okay, that's perfect. That's all I need, because that just filled it in. Okay, I'm in my mind, what that meant, I was this creature that lived in this one atmosphere, coming into this other atmosphere to feed. And it's like, basically I was just feed. I was there to feed is what I was doing. And that just, a lot of, sometimes you work with a director and they don't really, they don't really know what they want, or they want you to show them something, and they don't really have a good idea. They don't know how to direct these kind of characters. And that can be kind of frustrating if they don't, because they might have trouble making a choice, Um, but with them, it was very simple. That was really, really concise direction. The downside of that is, like, a lot of directors, the only references they give you a lot of times are other movies. In this case, it worked fine, but I would, I would caution you too, if you're interested in directing, you know, pull in influences from other things besides film. That's why a lot of films and TV shows and stuff, a lot of stuff you see is like, oh, I've seen this before. It's because they're always referencing other films. That's like their whole world. It's like, but there's other things that, there's other types of art. There's life, there's nature, there's science, there's writing, there's all these things to reference where you can get influence from. Music, and just so many things. And find your inspiration in other places besides film, because you're going to end up just repeating yourself or repeating other people. So, that's not a criticism of them, because that direction for me at that moment was just what I needed. But yeah. Anyway, that was the. I don't remember what the question was now, but yeah, that was, yeah.
Yo, you
I
have
hope I
such a
answered
way with
whatever it was. I hope I
words.
answered.
No, you have such a way with words that I don't even remember what the question was either, to be honest. So I appreciate your insight. Like, seriously, we're
Sure.
so passionate about this. I'm a stand-up comedian, but I got my
Oh,
start
cool.
as an actor, as a performer, and I'm so passionate about the thought process behind these things. And I really always want to spotlight the intricacies that people don't think about. And you, as the Demogorgon, is one of the big ones, because you really did start it all. Like, we wouldn't have the entire idea of Stranger Things without this villain, and people don't give credit to you enough. So we appreciate that. Before I let Justin take it away and ask you what he wants to ask, there is just something that's been on my mind today that I just want to call him out about. Look, you've played so many monsters on screen, Mark. You've played some terrifying characters. The Pale Lady, Harold. You've played some really terrifying characters, but
Thank you.
but Justin actually might be the most terrifying character you've ever met, because we were talking about this the
He
other
looks
day.
like a sweetheart. What are you
No,
talking?
no, we were talking about this the other day. He actually, when he pours a bowl of cereal, he puts the milk first. Isn't that crazy?
It is, but I totally understand. I
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Because there's a
And
level of crunch to it that you want, right? Like
what's
you
that?
understand. There's a level of crunch to, like, your cereal that
Exactly,
you need.
exactly. Right when he said that, I was like, that makes perfect sense. Yeah,
Oh
Um,
man.
you want it. Yeah, yeah. That's. I totally get it. I totally get it. And I'm not probably gonna have my granola like that tomorrow. Actually,
Don't let him change you for the worst, Mark. Don't let him.
why is that for the worst?
I just feel like there's a standard, there's a standard that you have to live up to when it comes to cereal. Your cereal's supposed
Well,
to be
that's
a little bit salty.
whose standard are we talking about, though? I mean, it's like the.
My standard,
Yeah.
my
Okay.
st-
Okay. 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 Now, at least you're being honest.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. Oh, my camera's shaking. All right, Justin, go ahead.
no, I really didn't have anything to lead with. I mean, like, it was like I was really just gonna build off of what Jeremy said. I mean, it's so great to, like, be able to talk to you. Me and Jeremy talk about it all the time. I think, in the world we used to be, like, really big into, like, the Marvel scene, and that was superheroes. Like, boys
Mm.
love superheroes and stuff like that. And there was all these, like, after credit stuff and all this stuff like that. And that's really, like, kind of like got into, like, a lot of people. People stayed, like after the credits, expecting something all the time, and there's never nothing there. But I think with our passion for movies, me and Jeremy, we really just like stay after the credits to kind of just like read all the names and appreciate everyone who's been a part of this entire like because it takes so many people, and I know it does. Like it's like people don't understand
Yeah,
how many little people takes to get into these different things. So like
yeah.
even just like having you here to talk about it, and just sometimes you're a name on the screen, and now you get to put like a name to the face, and now
Hmm.
we get to appreciate you and see every other piece of work that you've like done, and look into all that. So yeah, no, thank you for taking your time to come and talk to us.
Yeah, my pleasure. You got yeah, yeah. Didn't you guys are great. I'm happy to talk to you. This has been a
Yeah.
lot of fun. Yeah.
What are you snacking on? Oh yeah, spicy nacho. What's the best kind of Dorito? That's the question. Is it spicy nacho?
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna say it right now. Unpopular opinion: Cool Ranch is overrated.
It really is. Like when Cool Ranch, like I never like any of the Dorito tacos at Taco Bell ever. I think like every single one of those tacos, they don't taste good to me. They really don't.
I actually agree. I agree. Uh,
Like Russ was
have you ever
raving
just
so
like
hard about.
have you ever let a Doritos Locos taco sit for a while, get a little soggy, and then eat it?
I don't think so. No.
Well, it's kind of a surreal experience. Those 3 a.m. Doritos Locos tacos, the soggy ones, they just hit different. I'm telling you. Let's talk. Let's get strange. Let's get strange. So the way this is going to work is we are recording this before the finale. We have not watched the finale. Nobody in the world has seen the finale. We're all going to experience it together New Year's Eve. We are recording ahead of time. This is our pre-show conversation about the world of Stranger Things and all of our thoughts. And then you are going to get to see our reactions to the finale at the end of the episode. We're going to share our thoughts with you there. So we're going the full 9 yards with the Stranger Things final season here. And I have a lot of thoughts that aren't even directly related to the content in the show. I would love to talk about the fan base a little bit, but I feel like once I go there, you're not going to be able to pull me back in. It's gonna get hot so fast. So I would love to ask you first to take over and just
Yeah, I
talk
think really.
about the final season.
Yeah, I don't even think really like I can really just talk about the final season. I think we got to go all the way back to the start. Um,
Oh,
when
brother.
this show, no, when this show originally came out, like this show was huge. I mean, like everything Netflix usually does when it originally comes out is like big. Like everyone thought this was like the greatest thing ever. Such
Almost
iconic
10 years ago now, by the way, which is
yeah.
crazy. 2016, we were 12 years old.
I think I had watched season one, and then eventually when season two came out, I watched that. And I took a break. I took a break. I didn't go back to it for a while because I know season three released, um, and then which I think season three is the mall with the Russians, right?
Yes.
Yes, that I honestly think is I regard that as like the best season. I think the second season is actually the worst. I don't like what they did the second season
I agree.
with
100%. I
with
agree.
Elle and her weird siblings and that entire storyline and the storyline with her mother. It kind of felt like it was thrown away. We did get introduced to Max in that season, which I really do like Max's character. So I think that's pretty cool. But
Yeah, Sadie Sink is awesome. One of the best actors on the show. That's why
I
she
think
got that
genuinely
Spider-Man role.
season one obviously is a banger per usual. That's like the the ground level in which you base everything off of. But season three and season four like really did their thing
Yeah,
as
season
far as
four took it to a whole new level too. I think that's
it
what people
really
love.
did. Now, do I believe that season five is pretty underwhelming? Yes. Do I think that that doesn't mean that it's not good? No. I think that season five is good. I think that it is a good. I don't think it's the best that they could have done, but I think that they're trying to tell the story in the way that they know how. I ultimately think that like this entire story that we're getting is a wrap up of everybody. Like, this is a wrap up of not just L's story. This is just a wrap up of Will's story. This is everybody on an individual level. You got the scenes with Nancy. You got the scenes with um, Steve, or not. We got the scenes with like Dustin. We got the scenes with, and now we're getting Mrs. Wheeler. I mean, we got the stuff with her, uh, and Holly. Everybody's getting their own stuff because they're trying to wrap up this entire story. I don't know how this is going to end. I'm assuming that it's going to end with this other world being banished off the face of the earth. Um, because this is the last season, of course. But like it's something that's just getting wrapped up. It's not something that's meant to be like it's like how do I explain it? Directors, when it comes to like television, I think they have so much freeway with middle seasons because there's not as
Yeah.
much at stake. Season 5 of The Walking Dead is like regarded as like the best season of that show because they were just allowed to do anything. You're like when you're in the middle of a show of producing it, you can create whatever you want.
You have to play it a lot safer when it comes down to the wire.
Right,
It's
when it
like,
comes down to the wire, there's not like you only get so much runtime, and you have to kind of like figure out like, man, like
yeah, like
what
you
is
said, you have to wrap it up. You have to focus on wrapping up these stories, not
yeah,
giving the fans everything they want.
right. And so I think that's definitely what they're trying to do, and you just kind of have to watch it as a whole. People like you can't just like split up each and everything. Like you kind of have to like obviously not everyone rewatch the entirety of all the seasons leading up to this, but like that's what this is a whole story. If you liked season 1, or if you liked season 2, season 3, season 4, this is all leading up to that. Like everything is flowing as one whole, and we have to see how it ends. People are saying, "Oh, the finale is going to be disappointing." Watch it. It's 2 hours long. They're releasing it in theaters for a reason. Just go and watch it and see for yourself.
That is the thing. You really do have to consume it as this whole series because I struggle. I am on the opposite end of the spectrum. I never took a break. I invested into Stranger Things. No matter how long you had to wait, every new season that dropped, I was there day one. And yeah, it's frustrating to wait 2.5 years for new episodes, but it's just one of those things. When you invest into it, you gotta see it through. And every season, I asked myself, how did we get here? I feel like we completely lost the plot from the first season. It feels completely different. It is completely different. But then when you watch it back, when you watch the series as a whole, you see the vision a little more. You see how much of a roller coaster it is, and just how much fun and how much creative freedom the directors were using. Do I think the Duffer Brothers can be lazy? Absolutely, absolutely. I would say I was always frustrated by the formula of introducing a character at the start of the season just to kill them off so the main characters can have plot armor. It's a problem with the show, but I think as you watch, you kind of accept that. And I thought that the audience would mature as the series went on. The audience would mature with the show. But they didn't. No, no, the audience did not mature. And that's where my problems come in. I think the fans have really ruined this season for me. The reaction from the internet surrounding Stranger Things season 5 has really just killed all my hopes and dreams in society.
Really
Seriously.
don't. I really don't know what it is specifically about Netflix and what the audience they bring with them is, but from a mix of people still thinking that Byler is gonna happen, um,
Yes. It is
from
a very parasocial, toxic relationship
yeah,
people have with streaming shows. It's
and I
honestly scary that that's the era
mhm.
we're living in. Going into the season, yeah, that was the talk. If the Duffer brothers don't do Byler, if Mike and Will don't end up together, the whole show was pointless. There was never even an indication that was going to happen. The whole idea was explored in Will's coming out scene that Mike was his Tammy, like that. The idea was that his crush on Mike just represented his inner feelings. And I thought that was so beautifully done. But that's not the reaction. And in fact, I wanted to see Noah Schnapp really let out his acting ability. I was hating on the kid for 4 straight seasons, and I think in that scene in the last episode, sure, episode 7 is actually the second lowest rated episode of the show ever. It was slow. Nothing really happened. I get that, but my problem was not the coming out scene. I think a lot of people are speaking up against it that just don't get it. I think, that was Will's deepest, darkest insecurity. That was something that was haunting him. And he had to let that go to be the strongest, to be focused. I felt that. And
Yeah,
I feel like that was closure. That hammers it down. Byler is not a thing. It never was a thing.
no,
And
for
it's
sure. I mean, the
frustrating.
way, no, I
This like
think,
toxic relationship people have with the show. It's so frustrating.
and I think too, like, I think it doesn't help that the show did have its like large gaps in between when they released these seasons because it allowed for so much speculation. It allowed for these people to make their own ideas of how they want the show to end and all of this instead of just having someone deliver their idea to them. They started speculating, making fan theories, doing all this. Now the show isn't going the way they wanted to go. That's kind of what we're seeing from people. They're frustrated. They don't know what to do, even though everything was leading up to this. Like every like people, people on the internet talking about something like, when did Will get gay? He's been gay. People are talking about like, oh, what's going on with Nancy and Jonathan? It's like everyone knew they were trauma bonded to begin with. Like everyone knew that that entire relationship was built on this bond of like traumatic events happening to them. Jonathan literally got his brother kidnapped. Couldn't find like the entirety of season 1 is like a traumatizing show. It's you watch the show and sure there are jokes, but there's a lot like less jokes than there are in season like than there are like in season 1 than there are in season 5. Season 5 is like I get what they're saying where they're overdoing it. Like every single thing is supposed to be like, oh, this joke or that joke. But season 1, I think they were like it was like, dude, like, this mom is grieving her missing son. You have Jonathan's dad coming back into the picture and trying to get whatever. Jonathan's doing his own thing. Like, that was originally when Steve had his whole like um his whole issue. He was like partially a bully and then he was trying to become his own person. And so, the tone is very drastic. I can agree on that point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, the only issue is I feel like people freak out about the comedic undertones so much. Yeah, we've moved away from the dark, grimy tone of season 1. Uh, but we've already felt them loosen up a lot and have a little bit more fun with this show. That's just how it's evolved, and I feel like the outrage every time there's an inappropriate joke on screen is ridiculous. There's that people freaked out about that joke Robin made in the last episode, where she was like, where Steve was like, it's too big, it's not gonna fit, and she was like, you hear that all the time, don't you, Steve? And people were like, why would they write that? Why would they write that? Because we're mature audience, guys. Like
Right.
these are the kind of jokes that young adults make. Like that's how it works. We can handle jokes sometimes. Out of when you go through trauma like that, I feel like eventually that's a way to cope with it. Comedy. And speaking of trauma and coping, you brought up the Nancy and Jonathan scene. Everyone online hates that scene. Everyone online apparently didn't understand that scene. They were shocked when it was revealed that it was a breakup. I don't understand how. I'm still confused how I am on a completely different level of intelligence than most of the Stranger Things audience. I honestly, for me, I'm so serious when I say that scene between Nancy and Jonathan in what they thought was the last moments of their life was one of the best acted, best written scenes in the entire show. I got super emotional. I was watching with my family, and I'm glad we are watching it in the dark because I was bawling my eyes out on the couch. And for me, it's very personal, because I'm not going to get emotional now talking about it because I'm but I've gone through a conversation like that. I mean, that scene was two people who were imprisoned by this shared trauma, and eventually they decide to stop lying to themselves and face it head on. That was the closure they needed before it all ended, and it's a hard conversation to have. And knowing that the chemistry of that they have in real life, the actors' names are completely blanking on me. Natalie Dyer and Jonathan, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Jonathan. I'm so sorry. But nobody cares about you. That's just the bottom line. Nobody cares about you, Jonathan. But and then there's just certain elements of that whole argument or not really an argument, that whole conversation that I relate to. Like, Nancy said to Jonathan, I I hate when you get high. And I've I've had conversations like that. You know about it more deeply than obviously anyone watching this does, and I'm not going to get into it. But they still love each other, and that's the strength of that entire scene. They love each other so much.
And they realized too, because they had the whole conversation where they said, you know, Steve, he wants 6 nuggets, and they were talking about like Steve, and they know what they want, and Nancy doesn't know what she wants.
Right.
That's why she's so confused. That's why she's so torn. Um, all these ideas, they just come together and they realize, like, yeah, no, we've been lying to ourselves. We've been having to deal with this. Maybe this just isn't for us. Maybe we aren't meant to be together. Like she threw away the ring. Like she was throwing the ring into what she thought was a goopy metal mess. It was gonna sink, but it ended up landing on top because the entire shit stopped melting.
Yeah,
And yeah, somehow people were still like,
I don't get it. I don't get it. I feel like media comprehension just isn't there with this audience. Uh, Media literacy is dead. I've heard that saying a lot about this, and it's true. I'm very frustrated with the reaction to that scene because it just touched me, and it really, the writers clearly wanted Nancy to be able to find herself, and that is so important, and it's so important in real life too. And for anybody out there that's had to have that conversation with someone you love about finding yourself, I hope it worked out for you.
yeah,
I
people
do.
are people are exposing social online too, talking about something like, yeah, I just didn't get that scene because I was so bored, I was on my phone. And it's like, well, then obviously you're not gonna understand like,
Right.
well, what's happening. Like, I don't like, what is your point of watching a show and trying to understand it if you're just gonna be on your phone the entire time? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Just don't watch the show then.
This is the curtain call of the show. Things are going to get deep and emotional. You have to be invested into it, and they're just not. And for anyone to call that lazy writing after everything that this show has gotten away with, we're making up rules about the Upside Down as we go. We're making up rules as we go. The writers just come up with whatever they want, and the fans eat it up. They're like, "This makes so much sense," but that's lazy writing,
No, genuinely, because where did this wall come from? Like, let's talk
right?
about that. Where this entire this entire show for 4 seasons has been dealing with things in the upside down, and you're telling me that they just magically never happen to end on any sort of border of the town whatsoever?
Right. Sean Levy said that they sat down as a group before the season and worked out the kinks of the Upside Down, which just tells me that there was never a plan. There was never a plan. They just wanted to keep taking things bigger and bigger to the next level. And that to me is the lazy writing. But apparently, the most emotionally traumatic things are the lazy writing. The audience is upside down, I should say, and it makes this show really. They made me delete Twitter. Just seeing the reactions to people from people online, it just feels like they've got it all wrong. Like I know people are allowed to have their own opinion, sure, but I just don't get it. But I'm confident they're going to land the plane. I think that the emotion is there. I don't care if anybody dies. For some reason, that's all people want. Every episode is like, nobody died. This sucks. No one's died the entire series. Anybody important? We are used to there not being stakes. I'm taking the show for what it is. Like you said, you take the show for what it is. You watch it as a whole, and that's what Stranger Things is. There's a reason it's the biggest show in streaming. There's a reason it was the flagship show for Netflix, and I think we're facing that. All right, you guys are going to see our immediate reactions to the finale, and we're going to talk about. We're going to answer that question: did they land the plane? Maybe everything we just said was wrong, and we're going to end up hating it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I've enjoyed the ride. I've enjoyed it all, and I'm enjoying this. I am happy. I'm happy we're back doing this podcast.
Honestly, off first rip, just being truthfully honest, I had some opinions about the way things ended. Obviously the same things that everybody else is saying, some unrealistic parts of it, some missed aspects of it, and just seems like there were some plot holes.
Oh, hey, didn't see you guys there. Oh, yeah, that's right. You want my thoughts on the Stranger Things finale? Well, I'm broken. I am broken. I'm devastated. It's gonna take me a while to recover from the Stranger Things finale.
But ultimately, like I said previously before we recorded and saw the finale, that you have to take this whole show at face value. And I think honestly that's what this was. This was wrapping everything up. This was, giving us the closure and the story that needed to be told for, the ending of Vecna and for the entire crew and, for 11, and all this was leading up to this,
Yeah, we're doing this from my kitchen, and yes, this one really hit me hard. I think it's because I grew up with these kids, and now it really feels like the end of an era. Netflix is pushing me into a new chapter of my life, and I hate that. All in all, I think it was the perfect ending for the show, even if there's things you didn't like. If you've been watching from day one, you can't deny it was the perfect way to wrap things up. And you could sit here and poke holes at every little thing, but we haven't been doing that for 4 seasons, so why start now?
I thought that the story overall and the way that it was told was absolutely beautiful. I couldn't have done it another way.
I just don't think a lot of you realize how hard it is to end a show. Notice how everyone is always unhappy with the series finale. That's because it's almost an impossible task to make everybody happy with a series finale. When you start something this big and ambitious, you don't really know where it's going to go in the end. So I understand the challenge the Duffer Brothers were facing, and I think they handled this with a lot of respect and care.
Obviously, I have opinions on what I think could have been changed, but at the end of the day, I'm not the creator of the show, and I think the Duffer Brothers did an absolutely beautiful and amazing job. So I must thank them, obviously, for this journey and this entire path that led up to this.
I think there are certain scenes in the finale that you people need to listen to. I think they're speaking right to you, especially at that D&D table when it all comes full circle. And Max says, peace and comfort? That's how this ends? I thought you were supposed to be some master storyteller. Yeah, that's you guys. Max is you guys. If you're out there going, oh, there's more to this story, they're leaving something out, there's a missing episode, blah, blah, blah. Look, you're going through religious psychosis, okay? We've talked all about the toxic parasocial relationship the Stranger Things fans have with this show. You need to calm down and it's the end. It's the end, and enjoy it for what it is.
I know there's spinoffs coming, but I absolutely love this show, and I will continue to love this show and watch the spinoffs and everything that it's given me. So thank you again, Duffer Brothers.
I know the impact of this show and the culture it's created is going to be felt for a long time. I mean, heck, Monday Night Raw is Stranger Things themed coming up, and there's spinoffs, and this universe is so much bigger than any one of us. And it was just nice to be along for the journey. So yeah, that's what I'm feeling. And I'll end it with this. I just want to see you laughing in the purple rain.